Okay, so the important thing to remember with present perfect continuous tense is that it connects the past with the present. We use it for actions that have started in the past and are continuing on into the present. Let's start by having a look at some sentences that are written in present perfect continuous. Here we've got 3 of them. I've been working in the garden all morning. They have been meeting for coffee every morning. And our third sentence, she hasn't been learning French for very long. Now, each of these sentences describes an action or an idea that started in the past and is either continuing into the present or has been occurring regularly up until the present. Excellent. Thank you for the question, Ismail. We will have a look at that in this lesson. We're going to have a look at the difference between present perfect and present perfect continuous. Any other questions, feel free to leave them and I'll come to them as the lesson moves on. Okay, so let's start by looking at how we form different sentences in present perfect continuous. Affirmative sentences are formed like this. We start with the subject, then we need the 2 auxiliary verbs, have been or has been, depending on the subject. Then we've got the ing form of our main verb. And we call the ing form of the verb the present participle. Okay, so we use have or has depending on the subject. Let's have a quick look at that. We use has for third person singular. That is he, she, and it. For all of the other subjects, we use have. Okay, let's practice using this structure with the verb visit. We're going to need the ing form of visit, which we know is visiting. Here are our subjects. So the first one, I have been visiting. The next one, you have been visiting. Now for he, we've come to our first third person singular subject. So we're not going to use have, we're going to use has. He has been visiting. The next one, again we've got a third person singular subject. She has been visiting. It has been visiting. We have been visiting. They have been visiting. Remember, we use has for third person singular subjects, like he, she, and it. Okay, now that we've had a look at the structure of an affirmative sentence, let's see if we can go ahead and start forming some affirmative sentences. We're going to do that by turning these past simple sentences into present perfect continuous sentences. For example, the first sentence in past simple, we walked to school. We know it's in past simple because we've got the past form of the verb. Our subject is we. Because past simple has been used in this sentence, the action is placed at a specific point in the past. If we want to bring it into the future, we can use present perfect continuous. Okay, this graph here shows how each of these actions, walked, talked, rained, learnt, and improve, have all occurred at a single point in the past. Now, to turn the first one into present perfect continuous, it would look like this. We have been walking to school. That takes the action of walk and it brings it into the present. Take a moment and see if you can have a go at the next couple by yourself. Okay, how did you go? The second one, past simple, is they talked a lot. Present perfect continuous, they have been talking a lot. The next one, it has been raining. I have been learning French. And the last one, she has been improving her speaking. Notice that all of these actions have now been brought into the present. It shows that they've been ongoing in the past, up to the present, or it shows that there's a relevance in the present for these actions having occurred. But the easiest way to remember it is that these are ongoing actions that have occurred up until the present. So in our first sentence, we didn't just walk to school once in the past. That's an ongoing action that has been occurring. Okay, let's move on now to negative sentences. Before we start this again, just let me have a quick chat to see if there are any other questions or to see how everybody's going. Remember, if there's something you don't understand, feel free to let me know in the chat and I'll get to it when I can. Okay, excellent. It seems like everybody's going okay. So let's move on to negative sentences. Here's the structure for negatives. You'll notice a word has been added, and that word is not. Notice that it comes between our two auxiliary verbs. So we'll either say have not been or has not been. Let's practice forming some negative sentences by turning our affirmative sentences into negatives. Here are our affirmative sentences. They're the ones that we were working on before. So the first one was, we have been walking to school. To turn this into a negative sentence, we're going to say, we have not been walking to school. Okay, nice and easy. So let's move on to the next one. They have not been talking a lot. It has not been raining. I have not been learning French. She has not been improving her speaking. Now, hopefully that last one is not us. Hopefully we have been improving our speaking. Okay, let's practice forming some more negative sentences, this time using the verb work. We're going to go through each of these subjects. Remember, we'll need the ing form of work, which is working. I have not been working. You have not been working. He has not been working. Again, we can see that the auxiliary verb has is used here because the subject is he. What about the next subject, she? Are we going to need to use have or has? Thanks, Zua. Hope you're enjoying the lesson. Okay, for she, we're going to need has. She has not been working. And the same for it. It's third person singular, so we're going to say, it has not been working. Now we move down to we, and we go back to have. We have not been working. They have not been working. Okay, hopefully you're going okay with the negative sentences. We simply add the word not in between our two auxiliary verbs to turn an affirmative to a negative. Here are some possible endings to our sentences. I have not been working on the project for long. You have not been working for the past month. It has not been working well lately. I'm not going to go through and finish all of the sentences, but perhaps you've noticed that the end of these sentences indicate an action that has been ongoing. For example, it has not been working well lately. It shows that it's not an event that happened at a single time in the past. Perhaps it's the computer that hasn't been working well lately. That means that more than once, something's gone wrong when we've tried to use it. It's an action that's ongoing in the past up until the present. Okay, it's just about time for us to move on to questions. So, and by that I mean the structure of questions in present perfect continuous. So before we do move on, if you've got any questions of your own, feel free to add them now, and I'll just check out how everyone's going. Hi Yisun, and hi Amir. Great to have you following along on our lesson. How's everybody going? So far we've done affirmatives and negatives, and hopefully you're feeling nice and confident about those. Okay, up on the screen we can see the structure for questions. Can you see what's changed? What's changed from our affirmative structure to our question structure? All the same elements are there, but the order has been changed. This time, our auxiliary verb have or has are at the start. Our subject comes afterwards. So this or these two parts of our sentence have changed place. Okay, to practice some questions, let's take our affirmative sentences from the start of the lesson and let's see if we can turn them into questions. See if you can do the first one by yourself before I have a go. Our affirmative sentence, the first one, we have been walking to school. Here, it starts with the subject. Then we have our auxiliary verb have. To form the question, we're going to need to switch those around. Excellent question, Yisun. Have you been going to the market is perfect. You've got a present perfect continuous sentence. How about we have been walking to school? Has anybody had a go at that one that they would like to share with us? Okay, not yet. We've got a bit of a shy class, so that's not a problem. The first one will be, have we been walking to school? That might be a bit of a strange question to ask, but it is grammatically correct. The next one, they have been talking a lot. Okay, as a question, have they been talking a lot? Notice as well that we must end with our question mark. You might also have noticed that something changes about my voice. when I'm reading a question compared to when I'm reading an affirmative sentence? Listen again. The next one. The affirmative sentence is, it has been raining. The question, has it been raining? Would anybody like to share what they heard in my voice? What's different about the way that I read a question compared to an affirmative statement? Okay, my voice rises at the end. So the first one, have we been walking to school? My voice ends higher than how I read the first part of the sentence. Have they been talking a lot? Again, I end higher. Has it been raining? See if you can practice reading those first three questions to yourself, making sure to rise the pitch of your voice when you come to the last word. Have I been learning French? That is right. Good question. Have I been learning French? Okay, so Yisin has done the next question for us. I have been learning French turns into, have I been learning French? Again, that's a little bit of a strange question. Hopefully somebody might know if they have been learning French. The last one. She has been improving her speaking. Okay, what will that be as a question in present perfect continuous? As a question, we have, has she been improving her speaking? Okay, how did you go with those? Hopefully you've understood the affirmative sentences, the negatives, and the questions. Let's have a quick check-in now. On the next slide, I'd like you to have a look at these 8 sentences. Now, these 8 sentences are not complete. I'd like you to go through and see if you can fill in the word or words to complete these sentences in present perfect continuous. You'll notice that the verb that you need to use has been given. The first one is work, read, record, watch, feel, study, help, and it actually shows that it's helping. That's giving you a little bit of a hint. And exercise. Also for these two, number 5 and 6, they're negatives. For questions 7 and 8, they're questions. So be careful with those 4. If you've got any questions about these sentences, you can let me know in the questions below. Otherwise, have a go now, and I'll wait to see how everybody goes with them. Good work, Yisin. We've got the first one. I'll wait a little bit longer before I share any of them. And make sure that we're using the correct auxiliary verb, have or has, depending on our subject. Good, I like the answers that I see so far. So let's go through number 1. Our subject is the workers. Now it's third person, but it's not singular. It's plural. That means more than one. For that reason, we're going to use have. The workers have been working on the construction project. Next up, our subject is he. We're going to need to use has. He has been reading. He has been reading that book for the last 2 hours. Number 3, we have been recording videos for YouTube. Number 4, you have been watching TV for the past 3 hours. Number 5, she has not been feeling well for days. Hopefully here you remembered first of all to use has, but then also remembered to use the word not in between our 2 auxiliary verbs. Excellent, I can see Yi Sin has remembered exactly that. Number 6, I have not been studying enough recently. Number 7, have they been helping with chores? And number 8, has he been exercising every afternoon? Okay, that should give you an idea of how well you're going with the structures. Okay, now we finish that part of the lesson on the structures. We're going to move into when we use present perfect continuous. So thank you for that question at the beginning of the lesson, which was, what is the difference between present perfect and present perfect continuous? You're going to find out the answer to that from here. We're going to look at when this tense is used, because it is a bit of an advanced tense. That means that you're doing very, very well if you're beginning to learn about this, or perhaps you're even starting to use it in conversation. Okay, so very quickly to review, here are the 3 structures: affirmatives, negatives, and questions. But as I was saying, it's when we use it that can trick people up. Let's have a look at the 3 times that we use it. Past actions that continue to the present, actions that happen repeatedly, and actions that have finished in the recent past. Okay, we're going to start by having a look at past actions that continue into the present. We use present perfect continuous for actions that have started in the past and continue into the present, like this. The kids are here. They have been watching the movie. The action watching started in the past and is continuing into the present. That means they're still watching the movie. Here's another example. He has been traveling around Europe. The action traveling, again, started in the past and is continuing into the present. He is still traveling around Europe. Let's imagine that these sentences were written in present perfect simple. So instead of saying they have been watching the movie, let's imagine it is they have watched the movie. Instead of he has been traveling around Europe, let's imagine it's he has traveled around Europe. What's the difference between these sentences? Would anybody like to have a go? What is the difference in meaning between the sentences that are written in green at the top, which are present perfect continuous, and the sentences at the bottom, which are present perfect? Okay, nobody would like to have a go in the chat, so let's have a look at what the difference is. The sentences in present perfect simple, that is our sentences at the bottom. The action isn't continuing into the present. The 2 actions, watched and traveled, have occurred at a moment in the past. They watched the movie. Well, they're not still watching the movie. It's just telling us that this is an action that occurred in the past. He has traveled around Europe. That sounds like an action that has occurred and he's not traveling anymore. With the present perfect continuous, as we said before, they are being brought into the future and they're continuing. One thing that can be tricky to get your mind around is the fact that there is a connection to the present with these sentences, and that's illustrated here by the arrows. It's showing that there is a relevance in the present, but it's not continuing. For example, the first one, they have watched the movie. There might be a relevance to the present in that maybe you've said, would they like to watch the movie? You might let them know that they have already watched the movie. In some way, them having watched the movie is relevant to the present, but the action is not continuing. The next one, he has traveled around Europe. There's a relevance to the present, but he's not still traveling. Okay. I'll try and speak a little bit slower. I'm sorry if it's not as clear for you, Ashia. Let me know if there's any questions as we go along. Yisin, that is correct. I have eaten my breakfast. Okay. If you're not hearing me so well, do make sure you grab the worksheet. The link is in the video description. And there are, I think, about 3 different activities on that sheet, some of which we're going through here. So have a go at that sheet and ask me any questions that you have. They have played football. Yisin, that is correct. They have played football. Okay, let's keep going. Here's another example. They have been driving since midday. The action driving started in the past and is continuing into the present. That means they are still driving. Here's another example. Oh, and we can see a little picture that I've got here. He is still driving in the present. Our second sentence, he has been waiting for over an hour. Okay. He started waiting in the past, and he is still waiting in the present. These are past actions that continue to the present. Okay, so we can see from the picture here that he is still waiting. He has been waiting for over an hour. Let's have a look at one more example. She's been living with us for 2 years. Okay, notice a contraction has been used here. The subject has been contracted with the auxiliary verb has. She's is short for she has. Okay, so here, present perfect continuous shows that this is an action that has started in the past and continues to the present. Let's have a look at this sentence if it was written in present perfect simple tense. She's lived with us for 2 years. The meaning is similar because you might remember present perfect simple is used to talk about life experiences. She has lived with us for 2 years. So, is there a difference in meaning between these 2 sentences? Take a moment to read them again to yourself. See if you can hear whether or not there's a subtle difference between what is meant. Okay, I see your question about spelling, Yisin, and I will try and get to that one at the end because there are a few little things that we can do to improve our spelling. Okay, let's compare these sentences. There is a slight difference in meaning between them. Present perfect continuous suggests a more temporary situation. She's been living with us for 2 years. By temporary, I mean something that might not be continuing for too much longer. Maybe she's got plans to move out. Maybe she was never going to stay there for too long. The sentence in present perfect simple shows that it's more of a permanent situation. She's lived with us for 2 years. It sounds like she's going to be living there for much longer. In the first sentence, it shows that, well, maybe she won't be living there for much longer. So that there is the subtle difference between present perfect continuous and present perfect simple. Okay, now we're going to have a look at the second main time that we use present perfect continuous. It's for actions that happen repeatedly. That means not necessarily an action that happens continuously, like in our previous sentence, she has been living with us for 2 years. That happens continuously. We're going to see here that these are actions that happen repeatedly. This is our first example. The doctor has been taking my temperature every hour. The action of taking temperature is something that's repeated. It's not happening continuously, but it is happening repeatedly, as we can see on the chart here. Every hour, this action is repeated, continuing up until the present. Presumably, the doctor will be in another hour to take the temperature again, and again, and again. Let's have a look at another example. We've been eating out at restaurants most nights. Also, you might have noticed that a contraction has been used. We and have are joined together to form we've. We've been eating out at restaurants most nights. Eating out at restaurants is an action that has been repeated from a point in the past up until the present. She has lived with us for 2 years. Yisin, that is correct. It shows an action that has been happening continuously for 2 years. Okay, the third time that we use present perfect continuous. This tense can also show us that an action has finished very recently. That is, it's not continuing into the present, but it has continued almost up to the present. Here's an example. Where have you been? We've been looking for you for hours. Now, in this sentence, we're still not looking for the person. They've been found. But present perfect continuous is still used because it's happened it's only finished very, very recently. As well as the fact that it's finished recently, there's also a relevance to the present. Now, the relevance is that the person wants to know where they've been. Let's have a look at another example. Oh, before we do, here's the chart. It shows us that the action of looking was happening and it has finished in the present, but only just. You're covered in dirt. Yes, I've just been working in the garden. The action of working in the garden is not continuing into the present. It's finished, but only very recently has it finished. And again, there's a relevance to the present. The relevance is that the person has said, "You're covered in dirt." So them saying, "I've just been working in the garden," is relevant to the question in the present. So we use present perfect continuous for actions that have finished recently but are relevant to the present. Okay, let's very quickly review. Present perfect continuous tense allows us to show that actions or states from the past continue into the present. Okay, that's an important one to remember. An action started in the past and continues into the present. It can also show that actions happen repeatedly, not necessarily continuously, but at points along the way, from the moment in past to the present. Or it can show that actions have happened, that actions have only very recently finished. Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson on the present perfect continuous tense. Now is a great chance if you'd like to ask any questions. Perhaps something didn't make sense with that worksheet. Maybe there's a question or two that tripped you up. And if so, please feel free to ask any of those questions now. Thanks for the question about when I will come live again. I plan to do these about once a week, so probably this time next week. If there is a time that suits you better, I'm always open to suggestions, so let me know what time you think is going to be best for students in general. And of course, if you've got any friends or family who you think would benefit from these English lessons, it's always great to have more people. And it can be a lot of fun if you've got somebody in this lesson who you can work with as well. If you haven't yet, make sure you grab the worksheet. Even though the lesson's already completed, that might be something that you can work on and have it ready for our lesson next week. You're welcome. Thank you very much for participating, Yisin, and everybody else who did. I hope I was able to answer the questions that you had, and I hope that your understanding of present perfect continuous is stronger than it was at the start of the lesson. So thank you again, and feel free to leave any questions on this video if you after the video has completed, and again I'll see if I can help you out with those. Otherwise, thank you very much and have a wonderful day, and I hope I see you guys next time.